Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Devarada Gopijana Vallabha Devarada Yashodanandana Bhaja Jana Jana Yashodanandana Bhaja Jana Jana Yamuna Tera Vanachan Yamuna Tera Vanachan Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Vijana Vallabha Devarada Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Devarada Yashodanandana Bhaja Jana Jana Yashodanandana Bhaja Jana Jana Yamuna Vanachan Yamuna Tera Vanachan Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jayam Vishnupat Paramamsa Parapakacharya Asatara Shati Srimad Eshi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Kota Vaishnavana Ki All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 This morning we will be discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 2, The Lord in the Heart, text 17. Na yatra kala nimisham para prabhu. Na yatra kalo nimisham para prabhu. Kuto nyudeva jagatam ya ishire. Na yatra sattvam narajastam tamascha. Na vai vikaro namahan pradhanam. Na yatra kalo nimisham para prabhu. Kuto nudeva jagatam ya ishire. Na yatra sattvam narajas tamascha. Na vai vikaro namahan pradhanam. Na yatra kalo nimisham para prabhu. Kuto nudeva jagatam ya ishire. Na yatra sattvam narajas tamascha. Na vai vikaro namahan pradhanam. Yatra kalo nimisham para prabhu. Kuto nudeva jagatam ya ishire. Na yatra sattvam narajas tamascha. Na vai vikaro namahan pradhanam. Na yatra kalo nimisham para prabhu. Kuto nudevam jagatam ya ishire. Na yatra sattvam narajas tamascha. Na vai vikaro namahan pradhanam. Na yatra kalo nimisham para prabhu. Kuto nudeva jagatam ya ishire. Na yatra sattvam narajas tamascha. Na vai vikaro namahan pradhanam. Ladies. Na yatra kalo nimisham para prabhu. Kuto nudeva jagatam ya ishire. Na yatra sattvam narajas tamascha. Vai vikaro namaham pradhanam. So we have the word for word translation. Na, not, yatra, wherein, kala, destructive time, animisham, of the heavenly demigods, Para,
Para,
superior.
superior.
Prabhu,
Prabhu,
controller.
controller.
Kutaha,
Taha,
where is there?
where is there?
No,
No,
certainly.
certainly.
Deva,
Deva,
the demigods.
the demigods.
Jagatam,
Jagatam,
the mundane
the
creatures.
mundane creatures.
Ye,
Ye,
those.
those.
Ishire,
Ishire,
rules.
rules.
Na,
Na,
not.
not.
Yatra,
Yatra,
therein.
therein.
Sattvam,
Sattvam,
mundane goodness.
mundane goodness.
Na,
Na,
nor.
no.
Raja,
Rajaha,
mundane passion.
mundane passion.
Tama,
Tama,
mundane ignorance.
mundane ignorance.
Cha,
Cha,
also.
also.
Na,
Na,
nor.
no.
Vai,
Vai,
certainly.
certainly.
Vikara,
Kara,
transformation.
transformation.
Na,
Na,
not.
no.
Mahan,
Mahan,
the material causal ocean.
the material causal ocean.
Pradhanam,
Pradhana,
material nature.
material nature.
Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki.
Joy.
In that transcendental state, Labo Pashanti, there is no supremacy of devastating time, which controls even the celestial demigods, who are empowered to rule over mundane creatures, and what to speak of any supremacy of the demigods themselves. Nor is there the mode of material goodness, passion, or ignorance, nor even false ego, the material causal ocean, or material nature. Purport. So, just a moment. Devastating time which control even the celestial demigods by its manifestation of past, present, and future does not act on the transcendental plane. The influence of time is exhibited by the symptoms of birth, death, old age, and disease. And these four principles of material conditions are present everywhere in any part of the material cosmos up to the planet Brahmaloka, where the duration of life of the inhabitants appears to us to be fabulous. Insurmountable time even brings about the death of Brahma, what to speak of other demigods like Indra, Chandra, Surya, Vayu, and Varuna. The astronomical influence directed by the different demigods over mundane creatures is also conspicuous by its absence. In material existence, the living entities are afraid of satanic influence, but for the devotee on the transcendental plane, there is no such fear at all. The living entities change their material bodies in different shapes and forms under the influence of the different modes of material nature. But in the transcendental state, the devotee is gunatita, or above the material modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. There's a false ego of I'm the Lord of all I survey does not arise there. In the material world, the false ego of the living entity being trying to lord it over the material nature is something like the moth falling into a blazing fire. The moth is captivated by the glaring beauty of the fire, and when he comes to enjoy it, the blazing fire consumes him. In the transcendental state, the living being is pure in his consciousness, and as such he has no false ego to lord it over material nature. Rather, his pure consciousness directs him to surrender unto the Supreme Lord as stated in Bhagavad Gita 7:19. Vasudeva Savamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. All this indicates that In the transcendental state, there is neither material creation nor the causal ocean for material nature. The above-mentioned state of affairs is factual on the transcendental plane, but is factually revealed in a transcendentalist knowledge of the advanced stage of pure consciousness. Such transcendentalists are of two types, namely the impersonalist and the devotees. For the impersonalist, the ultimate goal or destination is the Brahma Jyoti or the spiritual sky, but for the devotees, the ultimate goal is the Vaikuntha planets. The devotees experience the above-mentioned state of affairs by attainment of spiritual forms for activity in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. But the impersonalist, because of his neglecting the association of the Lord, does not develop a spiritual body for spiritual activity, but remains a spiritual spark, only merged in the effulgence spiritual rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is full-fledged form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge, but the formless Brahma Jyoti is simply eternally in knowledge. The Vaikuntha planets are also forms of eternity, bliss, and knowledge, and therefore the devotees of the Lord who are admitted into the abode of the Lord also get bodies of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. As such, there is no difference between one and another. The Lord's abode, name, fame, and entourage, etc., are of the same transcendental quality, and how this transcendental quality differs from the material world is explained herewith in this verse. In the Bhagavad Gita, three principal subjects have been explained by Lord Sri Krishna, namely Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. But one reaches the Vaikuntha planets by the practice of Bhakti Yoga only. The other two are incompetent in helping one to reach the Vaikuntha lokas, although they can, however, conveniently take one to the effulgent Brahma Jyoti as described above. Read the verse once again. Nayatra kalo nimisham para prabhu kuto nudeva charatam ya ishire nayatra sattvam narajastamascha navai vikaro namahan pradhanam. In that transcendental state of labo pashanti, there is no supremacy of devastating time, which controls even the celestial demigods who are empowered to rule over mundane creatures. And what to speak of any supremacy of the demigods themselves? Nor is there the mode of material goodness, passion, and ignorance, nor even false ego, material causal ocean, or material nature. Om Ajnanatimandasya Chananshana Shalakya Sakshanmitam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namah Chichitayamanopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutaleshvam Rupakadamyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shiyuda Padakam Shigun Vaishnavam Shah Shirupam Jagajatam Sakanaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sakanalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bandhu Jatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kansana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamama Haripriye Vancha Kalptrubhisha Kripa Sindhuvisha Patnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Name. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Singhavadi Paskachayita Satarane. Srila Prabhupada Ki. So in this verse, the state of Labo Pashanti is described. The one who is situated on the transcendental plane, that one is situated on the transcendental plane, there is no influence of time in this. I think it's in this same canto that this is described as in a verse a little further. Yeah, it's in the next chapter. Ayur arati vaipumsam utyamastam sayanasa tasyarte yatsano nita utamasloka vartaye. It's 2:3:17. Both by rising and setting, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone, except one who utilizes the time by discussing topics of the all-good personality of God. That's interesting, this verse. Let's say it's, that when one hears the Bhagavatam and discusses the Bhagavatam, your duration of life is not diminished. that both by rising and setting, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone. So this is the difference between transcendental consciousness or Krishna consciousness and mundane consciousness. That it is in transcendental consciousness, then one identifies with the spirit soul. The spirit soul is eternal. That time has no influence of the spirit soul. Only on matter, which is the three modes. So what's happening here? That in this world, someone can have so many mundane, so-called good qualities. That one is a good administrator, or one knows how to exploit material nature very nicely and get a lot of wealth and all these things. They are all material qualities that, but at the time of death, it's all gone. It's all gone. But the spiritual qualities we develop, we get for eternity. Krishna explains in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, you take birth again, and very quick you come to the point where you will left up last life. All these qualities manifest again. So you get them eternally. That so that's the ABC of spiritual life, understanding the difference between spirit and matter. Spirit is eternal. That and it's not influenced by matter. That when I came to this movement, and after a few years, I understood. For the materialistic people, death is reality. Because everything what they think they are will be finished at the time of death. It will be gone. But the devotee knows I'm not his body. Because I'm the life in this body, the consciousness. And that consciousness cannot die. We cannot lose our consciousness. Interesting, not losing our consciousness. Think about it. That when we are awake, we say we are conscious. Well, that according to the Bhagavatam, you may not be conscious. Anyway, we are conscious. We think we are conscious. And then when we are sleeping and dreaming, we are still conscious. But we are conscious of the subtle body, not of the gross body, which is resting. But when we go into deep sleep, then the mind is not active. Where is our consciousness? We are still conscious, but we are conscious of the soul alone. The consciousness is withdrawn into the soul. Because when we get up, we say we had a good sleep. Because I remember when I underwent complete anesthesia for a surgery, then I didn't have that experience. The connection was broken temporarily. Because in deep sleep, you are still connected with this world. If one shouts, wake up, to the ear, you are connected, still connected. It's not, we are transcendental, but this deep sleep, one say it's close to Brahman realization. But we don't feel the bliss of Brahman because we are still covered by these two subtle and gross bodies that therefore we don't feel. But consciousness is always there. It's always there. That deep sleep, Prabhupada says that deep sleep is like, yeah, when you die, you are like in deep sleep, and 7, 8, 9 months, you wake up again. But transcendental consciousness is consciousness in which we identify with our real self. That identification of our real self is called Sambandha Jnana. Sambandha Jnana has 3 aspects: knowing who Krishna is, who we are, and what our relationship is. Our relationship is devotional service. So we see that this is mentioned in Nectar of Instruction. Nectar of Instruction. It's here somewhere. Upadesamrita. It's Nectar of Instruction. There. Text 10. There. Rupa Goswami writes, among the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most dear to Krishna. Her Kunda is as profoundly dear to Lord Krishna as this most beloved of the gopis. Who then will not reside at Radhakund and in a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings render service to the divine couple of Shishi Radha Govinda. In a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings. So that is Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami speaks here out of realization because he's Rupa Manjari. He's at Radhakund and he identifies himself not as Rupa Goswami, this external body. he identifies him internally as Rupamanjari. And in that body, in that consciousness, he's rendering service to the Supreme Lord. You cannot render service directly to the Supreme Lord in this material body. You must identify with your real self. That and that is the transcendental states, labo passanti, which is described here. That their time has no influence. That in the spiritual world, time has no influence. Here, time has influence. That we see this body every day changes a bit. We look in the mirror, we say it's the same face as yesterday, but if we wait 10 years and you look at the mirror, you see, oh, big change. Every day it changes a bit. Every day, Srila Prabhupada said, we die one day. And that usually we call the last part, the last hours or what we call death. But factually, this influence of material nature is very, yeah, on matter is very strict. Prabhupada said the stringent laws of the material nature. And the body has to go to these 6 stages. It takes birth, it grows a little, then become adult, byproducts, dwindling, and death. These are all these stages. And everything goes to these stages in this material world. Even matter goes to 3 stages. It's created, maintains for some time, and then becomes unmanifested again. It disappears. So that's the difference between spirit and matter. Matter always changes. Spirit is eternal. And it's such something which is very difficult to grasp for us in this world, because everything has a beginning and an end in this world. But we, the soul, Krishna says, never came into being. It's never created. Will never stop to be. It just, with our material intelligence, we cannot understand that, because we don't have the experience in this world that something is eternal. Theoretically, we can understand something that, but practically, we cannot grasp that. Therefore, spiritual matters cannot be understood by the brain. The brain is material. We can only understand it theoretically. But therefore, transcendental knowledge is received to the heart, from the supersoul to the soul, that and in the form of realization. And this realization comes when our ignorance is removed. The influence of these modes of nature is removed. And this influence is removed. The removal of this ignorance is called purification. That so everything controls, even the demigods. Said even Lord Brahma has to leave his body. And that so this is in the purport. Srila Prabhupada speaks about those who get liberation, and they enter the Brahma Jyoti. That but the Brahma Jyoti is, or the spiritual sky, is not a permanent situation. That because this coastal ocean, yes, how does the creation start? Karnodakasaya Vishnu, of Mahavishnu glances on Brahman. And in Brahman there is the three modes of nature unmanifested. And there it starts. Living entities injected because of desires. And these desires breaks the equanimity of the three modes. And from this, false ego is born. Because that false ego is the false ego the living entities had constructed in the previous creation. And false ego is based on material desires. The desire to lord it over material nature. That's called in Bhagavad Gita the desire that creates bodies. Bhunkte Prakriti Jan Gunan. The desire to exploit material nature. That as long as this desire is in the heart, we create material bodies. That and so it's not Krishna who is at fault. No, we are doing it. Material nature reciprocates. That's all. That so therefore, Krishna consciousness means changing desire. From the moment you come to the desire to act as a spirit soul, means the desire to act in sambandha. From the moment you identify as a spirit soul, the influence of the material nature stops. It's so powerful. But it's difficult to come to that purity of identifying as a servant of Krishna, as a spirit soul. That's so difficult. We hear it theoretically, but then we want to, next moment, we want to enjoy again. Because the mind is strongly contaminated. But what's the way to get out of it? We have to become pure devotees. Pure devotees starts with pure intention. We may have so many material desires, but it starts with the pure intention to serve Krishna, to serve the spiritual master, without any condition, without any material motivation. So we may have impure desires, but that pure intention is important. That pure intention will bring us back to Godhead. That's because that is what the spirit soul does: desire, pure intention. And that in the material world, everything is under the modes of nature. But if one becomes pure, then this influence stops. Narada Muni, he went through the process, and interesting, when his whole life, previous life is explained in the Bhagavatam. And it's explained he experienced death as a flash and lightning, and he was in his spiritual body. And then he entered the body of Mahavishnu. That's interesting. He entered the body of Mahavishnu and had to wait till the next creation to come out of the body of Brahma as a pastime. But what was his consciousness when he got his spiritual body? That he was in this labo pashanti, this transcendental consciousness. That so it's the same consciousness in quality, as Karunodakasaya Vishnu, Vishma Vishnu, Vishnu Tattva. That. So for how long does it take the creation for Mahavishnu? That one exhalation, that one exhalation, yeah, there is this joke, this man who was praying to God, "Oh, my Supreme Lord, is it true that that $1 for you is trillions of dollars?" But yeah, means trillions of dollars. That trillions of dollars for us. And God replied, "Yes, my son." And then the person was praying that I've heard that 1 second for you is millions and millions of years, trillions of years for us. Is that true? And God said, "Yes, my son." And then he asked for a benediction for God and said, my Supreme Lord, please give me $1. And God replied, "Yes, wait a second." So this is, it's also in the Bhagavatam. It's just an exhalation. But Narada got his spiritual body. He was also on that level. For him, it was just like a second. And he came out of the body of Brahma. So a different experience in time. Time, according to one's consciousness, according to one's level of consciousness in the modes even, time gives us another experience in this world, a different experience. We know that 1 day on the moon is 30 days for us. It's a full moon today. That's Balaram Rasayatra, appearance of Shyamananda Prabhu. That's another story. That's interesting. But 1 day here is, but 1 day on the moon is 30 days here, and that's quite close by. But the difference with Brahma Loka is immense, because Brahma's experience of his life is like a life of 100 years. That's like 100 years for us. He has the same experience. That's interesting. That what's the experience of the life of a bug? It takes birth at night and dies at night. Never sees the but what's the experience? It's somewhere in the Puranas that I think it was on this was it Sridham who said something to Srimati Radharani what was not so nice, a little offensive, that doesn't belong in the spiritual world, and he started to fall down to the material worlds because of his offense. And Srimati Radharani said to Krishna, "Krishna, get him back." And immediately he was back. But he went through millions and millions of births in the material world. So if we come back to the spiritual world, it's like we never left. We left a second before, but so that's the spiritual experience of time. But time in this in the spiritual realm has no influence. What does it mean? On the spiritual realm, time facilitates Krishna's pastimes, like the rasa dance with the gopis. That they needed more time, so the whole night became like a night of Brahma. Was expanded. Time assists the pastime. But here, time is very destructive. Time in the mode of goodness goes quick. One enjoys, time goes quick. You sit in the seat of the dentist and it's going very slow. So the different experience of time that, but in the material world, time controls. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, time I am the destroyer of the entire world. That so this is Krishna time. But for a devotee, time has no influence. He knows that I will change body, okay, but I will continue my service in the next body, no problem. And Krishna gives him remembrance of his Krishna consciousness. That so that is real protection. Krishna protects us against the influence of time. That because when we become pure, we identify with our spiritual body. Time has no influence on the spiritual body, on the spiritual. Has no influence, cannot destroy us. That Narada Muni met Ravan and said to Ravan, you should give Sita back to, give Sita back to Lord Ram, otherwise you will get in trouble. And Ravan became angry and he took his sword and he was going to cut Narada's body in pieces, and he tried first zip. It went to the body of Narada Muni, and Narada Muni was still dancing there and chanting. And Ravan said, what kind of body do you have? Became a little diplomatic. And Narada said, oh, that's a spiritual body. And Ravan asked, can I also get such a body? And Narada said, yes, you just perform devotional service to Lord Vishnu, but that was too much. That was not for Ravan. He could not do that. So no influence. So matter is under control of time. But when we leave this body, then the subtle body, guided by the super soul, we move on, and the subtle body goes to the wall. No problem. That for the subtle body, one where the subtle body, gross matter does not exist. Just go to it. It doesn't exist. We see the demigods, they have a subtle body. They can go to the wall, no problem. That not controlled so much by material nature, but still controlled. They cannot go out of the universe. Not possible. That so, of course, this purport contains so many points, but it describes the material world, and it describes the Brahma Jyoti, and it describes Vaikuntha. But those who reach the Brahma Jyoti, it's it's a temporary situation. That because the soul needs activity, it cannot remain there. So usually at the next, they are factually entering the three modes unmanifested. That's where they are. And during the next creation, they go again into the creation. That it is a temporary situation. Because the soul belongs to the spiritual world, Vaikuntha, Goloka, Vrindavan. But to enter there, we must be connected with the highest spiritual energy, which is Ladini Sakti. That Brahmajyoti, it's explained here, has two qualities, Sandini, Samvit, Satchit, that, but no Ananda. You need Ananda, connected with the Ladini Shakti to enter the spiritual world. And Ladini Shakti is under control of Srimati Radharani. So we must become a servant of Srimati Radharani. And she recommends us to Krishna. That, and the spiritual master is representative of Srimati Radharani. That, so yes, the demigods, that it seems nice. They are in the mode of goodness. As long as you don't read the Bhagavatam, you can believe in these things. But when you read the Bhagavatam, you hear about the Star Wars. That they are peaceful in the heavenly planets, and suddenly the demons attack, and the peace is gone. That so it's this what Krishna says, Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam, from the highest planet to the lowest, it's all suffering and temporary. That it's all death, old age, disease. That and Brahmaloka, it may look nice, such a long life, but in their consciousness, it's just like 100 years for us. That it is all temporary, full of misery. Yeah, people are afraid from this bad influence and so on, that of material nature, afraid from suffering. But a devotee, because he's in transcendental consciousness, he does not suffer. Even if we become a little Krishna conscious, we will suffer less, because we are suffering because of an attachment to this world. But when we become attached to Krishna, this attachment to this world goes down. And the less you suffer, the less you are attached, the less you are suffering. Suffering and attachment to this world, attachment to this body, attachment to the honor, that afraid of being dishonored, but afraid of becoming poor. But whether you are poor or and full of suffering all your life, you enjoy your entire life, that and you are honored by everyone, the result is the same. They die, they get the same thing. It's all for nothing. This material life has no purpose, and materialists have no real purpose in life. What's the use of a purpose that one will be rich and enjoy and be honored? It has no purpose. It's all gone. So it has no meaning. That, but yes, what is the point? Most people are not following the four regulative principles. We are not following the four regulative principles because there was one psychiatrist, Suzanne or something, she wrote Prabhupada about this, say this following this four regulative principles is artificial and so on, and it affects your immunity and and Prabhupada wrote back, yeah, and that's that if one does not follow these regulative principles, one's suffering will be without limit, and that's a fact. Unless one stops that, the suffering cannot be stopped. That, but we have emotional needs. Yes, we have needs, but that's fulfilled all in devotional service. That using our material nature in the service of Krishna, and you will feel materially satisfied and spiritually satisfied and be able to progress. But that's a science that, and those with, Prabhupada said, those with brains as kaldong, they cannot understand it. It needs some transcendental intelligence that, yeah, and, I think Dana Goswami speaks also about that. He wrote his book, Brain Gain, interesting book. That but people may buy it, may read it, but don't understand because they don't apply it. That anyway, most even will not read it, but it would be a brain gain if they do. That. It's a big purport, much more to say, but our time is over. So, anything? Any question? Yes, I've Mother Vanuya here. So.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Maharaj, please accept my most humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very, very much for this super important topic. I would like to learn, you were talking about that the false ego is our material desires, and my Guru Maharaj said once that our main renunciation is to the austerity of the mind, also I'm searching for the English words, that we renounce these desires of our mind.
Yeah.
And I observe myself already during buying boga, that the false ego comes in, and once more as it is actually needed. Also, how can I learn to renounce or to this austerity of the mind, and that I don't engage the false ego in devotional service as in question marks. So do you have some advice for me, please?
Yeah, there are different ways to learn this, and that of course, if you buy too much and you eat too much, you will suffer. That's one way to learn. But materialistic people will not learn for it, but the devotee starts to understand. Yeah, maybe I should not do that. But yeah, it's to control the senses and the mind. That the only way to control it is to get a higher taste in devotional service. If you have the higher taste, then you lose your interest for the body. That so therefore, it's so important to to get this higher taste. And this higher taste, to get this higher taste, one must follow the process of devotional service nicely. Then, especially in association of devotees. And gradually, this taste diminishes, this material taste, and the spiritual taste takes over. But you need a higher taste, otherwise the lower taste will take over. But therefore it's important, we use all...
For me, it's a crazy thing. I had, sorry.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry. For me, it's a crazy thing. I have also some taste, also in various fields of Krishna consciousness, chanting, to visit the temple programs, I can look at the deities for hours, and also I have also really I would say attraction to this, and on the other side. Also these very uncontrolled senses, ne? Also this is so for me this contradictionary, so
Yeah, the point is that we engage in devotional service, but it should be without interruption. And when the false ego comes open, takes over, that's an interruption. It's we have to be careful. But it's a lifelong experience of finding balance. The balance in sleeping and awake. Not too much sleep, not too less. If you sleep too much, then false mode of ignorance comes more manifest, and false ego takes over. But it is a question of building up spiritual strength. And that takes time. And my experience is never think yourself liberated or advanced. That always be careful, you are in danger. And that's mentioned in Harinam Chintamani. Unless we come to the stage of Sudanam, we are in danger, and we should be afraid of material nature. And during the period of anartha nivritti, yes, it's going better, but the danger is still there, and you will still make errors. But we learn little by little. But intense engagement in devotional service, that helps, because then you have no time for Maya. And that's important. Always be busy in Krishna consciousness. And yeah, when you get older, the body doesn't cooperate anymore. So if you overeat, then you are sick for a few days. Material nature helps. But that's the mercy of Krishna. Good. That's what I could say on it. There's another question here. Yes.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for this class, especially explaining how material and spiritual work or spiritual energy. So, in the class, you mentioned about devotional service doing with pure intention.
Yeah, devotional service with pure intention.
How we can have pure intentions, like what we should do for that?
Yeah, the pure intention means Iyayasya Aredasya Karmanamanasankari Nikalash Apavastasud Jivan Mukta Sauchote. Is using always your body, mind, words, and all one's intentions, desires in the service of Krishna without interruption. That is, if one does that, one will be soon liberated. That because one acts on the liberated platform, thus acting on the liberated platform. What that means for everyone is different. But it starts with you do service and you don't want anything in return, only for the pleasure of Krishna. Don't want anything in return. Karma jnana anavritam. Not wanting liberation, not wanting results for oneself from it. That just to please Krishna, birth after birth. That's what Lord Chaitanya says. I don't want followers. I don't want relationship with the opposite sex. I don't want wealth. I just want to serve you birth after birth. I even don't want liberation. And that's pure intention. That's the definition of Lord Chaitanya. It's perfect.
It is okay to ask follow-up question.
Yeah.
Like bigger picture we understand, but when day-to-day activities we do, because of our impurity, many times we think, oh, I'm doing with the right intention, but we may have some motive behind it, knowingly or unknowingly. To control something or to correct somebody or show supremacy.
Yeah, these are the subtle contamination that wanting profit, the distinction, honor. These are subtle things but that may be there, but the desire to serve the spiritual master and Krishna should dominate that. That's the point. As long as this dominates, we are in the right way. That these subtle things may be there, but they are not so important. As long as it's dominating, that we become purified. Good. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.
Maharaj ki
Jai.